I've been waiting for you.
Man, how did Atem return in Yu-Gi-Oh! The Dark Side of Dimensions?
You and I, plus many other, have been wondering this question. In the English dub of Yu-Gi-Oh! The Dark Side Dimensions, it was never stated how Yami Yugi appears in the final duel of the film that contains Cubic Aigami, Seto Kaiba, and Yugi Moto. Prior to that duel, we get Kaiba and Yugi going toe-to-toe for the first time in Yu-Gi-Oh! And props to Takahashi for keeping this duel on hold for such a long time. Granted, Yugi never needed to duel Seto simply because Atem was with Yugi most of the time they encountered each other, and also it was always Atem and Kaiba in their everlasting rivalry, while Yugi was just the vessel. Even though that duel was around 10 minutes, and I wished it was the normal 4-episode duel that usually takes place in Duel Monsters, I appreciate it for what it was. Meaning that Yugi dueling Kaiba for the first time without Atem's guidance is very good for Yugi's character, that he doesn't need Atem anymore and can move on with his life. While on the other hand, Seto hasn't, he needs his rival. Yugi in that duel was just an obstacle for Kaiba, and that goes two ways, good and bad. Good in the sense of it reveals how motivated Kaiba is, but bad in the sense of Kaiba hasn't moved on, which is a flaw in his character. My gripe with that duel is that it got interrupted by Cubic Diva, and as he was going to create his perfect world, and this starts Kaiba and Yugi teaming up to duel Cubic Aigami. Kaiba sacrifices himself in the duel so Yugi can hang on a little bit longer. As Kaiba's body slowly dissolves, he states to Yugi, call him now. Yugi replies by basically saying he's gone. The duel proceeds to go on and Yugi hangs in for about a turn. Crimson Nova Trinity delivers an attack which chops Yugi's life points down to 200. Yugi attempts to draw a card and says, I believe in the heart of the cards, and note, he was feigning while saying that iconic line in episode title. So Yugi was unable to draw a card, and midway through hitting the floor, out comes this golden beam matching the color of the Millennium items, and that golden beam eradicates all the darkness Cubic Aigami was able to spread around in the area the tournament was held, and before it was stopped, the darkness was encapsulating Yugi's dimension, therefore creating Cubic Diva's perfect world. A little side note before I talk about my theory is that this scene is similar to the darts duel. Kaiba sacrifices himself for Atem. He does it for Yugi in this movie. Yugi is basically by himself because mostly everybody's body's dissolved and went to a different dimension. In the darts duel, Atem was by himself because darts activates a card, and somehow that card knocked out Taya Mokuba and Trishan. Also, when Atem was about to lose, there was a golden barrier protecting him from the seal of Orichalcos. These scenes aren't 100% alike, but it's very similar. As I was previously stating, the golden beam was able to eradicate the darkness Cubic Aigami was spreading. The scene then pans to the Millennium Puzzle, and out comes Atem, and his design is so different from the virtual duel. Cubic Aigami is literally shocked and is like, how did the Pharaoh return? Atem draws a card, and in the process of drawing that card, it fades to a picture of Yugi, then Atem, revealing that Yugi is the vessel, and Atem at that moment is in Yugi. Atem draws Mahad, his loyal servant, which defeats Cubic Aigami, making Diva return to his normal state. Mahad was also able to destroy the Millennium Ring. Aigami disappears into another dimension. Everybody's brought back to the real world. Yugi and Atem look at each other. It's complete silence. Yugi nods his head to Yami Yugi, implying thank you. Atem has the Millennium Puzzle around his neck and Yugi doesn't. Atem taps the Iowa Jot symbol on the puzzle, after which Atem leaves the real world with the Millennium Puzzle and goes back to the afterlife. Let's move on to the ending of the film where Kaiba meets Atem. In that scene, we see Atem having the Millennium Puzzle with him, showing to us the viewers that he took the puzzle with him. After stating what happens in the ending of the film, I pose this question to you guys. How did Atem appear in the ending, since Ishizu stated the door to the afterlife is closed forever? So, have you guys gotten an answer? I think not, so that's why I'm here today. I've watched the movie 3 times. In addition to that, I've also discussed it with people on my Discord server. If you guys want to check that out, it's linked down below and in the description. No one in my server could figure it out either, and in the Discord server that I have, there's a lot of knowledgeable people about Yu-Gi-Oh! But it wasn't until a viewer named Tony commented on my spoiler review of Dark Side Dimension, and he states, one theory I have is something they touch on. Remember in the anime, Yugi said that once he finished completing the Millennium Puzzle, he was granted one wish, which was Yugi wished he had a best friend. What if that wish was granted once again? again, Yugi completed the Millennium Puzzle at the climax of the movie, and that's why Atem came back. Or that wish was a permanent one. Even if Atem went into the afterlife, he could still come back and forth. This theory is amazing, but I want to give my own take on it. Tony brings up the wish that gets granted when solving the Millennium Puzzle, which was also brought up in the anime, and this movie follows the manga. 4K Media stated initially this movie takes place 1 year after the Duel Monsters anime. Later on in Viz, they stated that this movie follows a few months, but with DSOD's English dub, it seems like they're following both versions, as weird as that sounds, because during the Aigami and Seto duel, Kaiba states, "Oh, this is where the Pharaoh and Yugi dueled." In the anime, Kaiba was there, but in the movie they totally dismissed that. So it's very hard to state what canosity this movie follows, but also Mokuba states in the film that it took Yugi 8 years to solve the Millennium Puzzle, which was stated in the manga. And the English dub follows major plot points of the Japanese story, and the Japanese version follows the manga, so I think it's safe to say that this movie follows more manga than anime, at least for the English dub. Now let's get into the theory. What if I were to tell you that Atem returning in the ending of Dark Side Dimensions is literally answered in the first few pages of the Yu-Gi-Oh manga? In chapter 1 of the manga titled The God Puzzle, Yugi states to Anzu that the puzzle can grant one wish like a Dragon Ball, and that's only when it gets solved. Yugi wished for friendship, and later on in that chapter, Junochi or Joey becomes Yugi's friend. My theory is very similar to Tony's. It's that what if Yugi wished for Atem to appear in the ending of the film to save him and his world from Cubic Aigami's destruction? Please hear me out for a little bit longer. When Atem left to go to the afterlife, he was gone from the puzzle. So what if with Atem leaving, the wish reset? So as Yugi defeated Atem and Atem departed to the afterlife, it's logical to say they unlinked. During the first chapter of the Yu-Gi-Oh manga, when Yugi is solving the Millennium Puzzle in his room, once he's about to solve the Millennium Puzzle, Atem or the puzzle linked with Yugi's mind and body. It's shown very clearly. Even if the puzzle is dismantled and he puts it back together, he can't make the wish because he's linked with him. But when Atem, as I said before, lost in the ceremonial battle, he unlinked with Yugi, because prior to Yugi solving the Millennium, he wasn't linked with Atem, he didn't even know about Atem. And with Atem leaving, the puzzle reset, and that wish could happen again. Kaiba never solved the puzzle. He attempted to, but Aigami snatched 2 pieces. The moment when Yugi walked in the middle of the arena and put the pieces together, nothing happened because Yami was in the afterlife. But the fact is, the wish could still be made, and before Yugi solved the Millennium Puzzle in the manga, he wasn't linked with the Pharaoh. He didn't even know about the Pharaoh. Atem didn't even know he was a Pharaoh. Yugi possibly forgot the puzzle could grant a wish, and he didn't want to use it. When Kaiba sacrificed himself to protect Yugi, he said to call him, and Yugi stated he's gone, so we can assume that he most likely forgot about the wish. The only logical time Yugi could have made that wish is during the moment he was about to faint, and during that scene, Yugi says, "I believe in the heart of the card," so you guys might be saying, well, he didn't have time to make that wish, but he could have made that wish mentally. Kaiba definitely aided Yugi in making that wish since he stated to him, call him. And Atem appears, he is definitely linked with Yugi's body because they show it during that scene of Atem drawing Mahad. Once everything was back to normal, Yugi and Atem were staring at each other, but the whole scene was silent. As I stated before, Yugi nods his head to Atem, and Yami takes the puzzle with him. Now why would he take the puzzle with him unless it was because someone could make another wish? Atem bringing the puzzle with him to the afterlife is the best thing to do because people can't take advantage of the puzzle. Besides that, it also prevents Atem from coming to the real world so he can finally rest. Also, when Yugi nods his head to the Pharaoh, it might have been a yes for him to take the puzzle with him. One more thing I have to say before I wrap this video up is when Ishizu stated that the door to the afterlife has been closed forever, that really doesn't mean it's closed forever. Magic and powers can easily dismiss this statement. But this is the video for today. I want to say thank you to everyone that's watching. Check out our Facebook and Twitter fan page regarding the 6th Yu-Gi-Oh anime series, as well as Yu-Gi-Oh anime news in general. Check out my Twitter at BYGAgami, and be sure to subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh content. And I do want to say thank you to Tony for sparking this theory and stating his theory as well. And have a great day, guys.